Guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of Gearheadgirl Garage, where today we're going to show you how to change your oil on your R32 GTR. For this, the essentials are going to be obviously your oil filter, your oil, and a ratchet to get your drain plug off, and then you can get an oil drain pan, and if you want a funnel, and you may need a filter removal tool, and gloves are always nice to have. Alright, so ideally you want to do this when your car has just cooled off after being run, so the oil's still nice and thin and will all come out. If you need extra space under the car, you can jack it up and use jack stands. If you need a refresher on that, please click the link to the video above. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. As you can see here, this is not the stock location of the oil filter. This has been done for easier access, but if you come across over here, you can see, we'll shed some light on this. Down there where the two hoses are coming out, that's going to be your original oil filter location. On the stock cars with high cast and everything, it's a bit of a pain to get to, which is why we've relocated the oil filter. But if you need to go the stock route, that's what you're going to do. You're going to take the filter off, preferably from the top down, when you do remove the oil filter. But for our purposes, we've got this nice, easy to access oil filter here. This is the oil filter we've been using. You can see the number on there. You can see this isn't a very stock GTR, so we've got an aftermarket sump, and we've got our drain plug right there. So you're going to want to undo that when you're ready. So just for comparison, here's our stock sump, and you can see the drain plug is right there. Pretty similar location, should be easy enough to find. Alright, so one thing to note is that this is a 5-liter oil pan. Stock GTRs tend to hold around 5 liters or so it's going to be pretty full when you get to draining it. And if you've modified it at all, for example, this GTR holds close to 10 liters of oil, so we're going to have to plug in the drain plug about halfway through to avoid a big mess. So that's one thing to keep in mind if your GTR is modified. Alright, another thing to consider, if you have a stock GTR, this doesn't apply to you, but if you've modified your GTR, one common mod is the accumulator right here. So you're going to want to make sure that you open this before you drain your oil so that you're getting all that oil dumped out as well. So once you've opened your accu sump, you want to give the piston some time to go all the way to the bottom, and then you can shut it again. So you want to go ahead and take the cap off of the top to ensure it all drains out the bottom. Alright, then we're going to slide our drain up here. And then we're going to take our size 14 ratchet and go after that bolt right there. Set the camera down to do this. Cool. Alright, and then we're just going to let that all drain out, and in this case, because it is a modified GTR and the oil exceeds the capacity of our pan, we will be plugging that halfway through and continuing on. Alright, so one thing you can do if you have a magnetic sump plug like this one is you can examine it to make sure there's no sparklies or little bits of metallic pieces from the engine, and this looks really good, so we're happy with that. So you want to let that all run out. Alright, so one thing you can do to help speed up the process is jack up the car on the opposite side of the sump plug. You can see a little bit more started coming out since we've jacked it up higher, and we'll just wait for that all to come out and replace the plug. Alright, so while we're waiting for our oil to drain out, we can go ahead and pop the oil filter. So you want to go ahead and take it out of the box and out of the packaging. Alright, take that out. Okay, so you just want to go ahead and pour in some of your oil. Oh. And try not to make a mess like I did. You can clean off the top, and we'll let that sit for a few minutes. Alright, so you can see that that has soaked in, so we're going to go ahead and top it off and just keep repeating that process, letting it sit, swirling it around. So once again, you can see that the oil has soaked into the pleats. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. You might think, oh, it's a side-mounted oil filter, I don't need to pre-soak it, but you might want to go ahead and do this. So the point is not to necessarily fill it all up with oil, but just to get all the pleats saturated. Alright, you can see after several cycles of soaking and refilling, it's not filled to the brim, but it is all nice and the pleats are saturated. So we'll go ahead and get ready to install that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and remove our old oil filter. If you didn't wrench it on super tight, you don't actually need any tools. It's great. So we've got a rag there to catch any oil that might come out. We'll hurry up and get this off. Alright, there we go. So you just want to clean up the surface areas there and get ready to install your new filter. So we've got our pre-soaked filter here. And just go here. And we'll go ahead, just hand tighten this on there. Cool. So pro tip, if stuff's a little bit greasy and you want to make sure it's super tight, you can get some sandpaper and go ahead and make sure it's tightened down. So you can see our oil is pretty much drained out, and we're going to go ahead and reinstall our drain plug. So once you've got it all cleaned off, if you have a new crush washer, you can put that on now. Otherwise you can flip your existing crush washer and reinstall your drain plug. We're just going to go ahead and clean everything off and reinstall our sump plug. So we've got our sump plug with the crush washer. Go ahead and hand thread it to make sure you don't cross thread it, and then tighten it with our 14 mil. So when you have your oil out, it's a good time to inspect it for any metallic bits. And that's in comparison with our nice new fresh oil. Right, so now it's time to fill it back up with oil. So if you have a stock GTR, your capacity is probably going to be a little bit different than a modified GTR depending on what mods you've done. You also have to take in consideration things like the lines and oil cooler as far as how much actual capacity. So what we recommend is start filling it and keep checking that dipstick. Alright, so you go ahead, take off that oil cap completely. We have an awesome little funnel here that actually threads in. You can go ahead and start adding that oil. Alright, on to jug number 2. And you might be saying, that's some weird oil, it's red. What is that? Well, we've tried, Castrol racing, we used to run Penrite racing oil, all this stuff, and we kept having problems with oil temp stability and pressure and all that, and this oil is the best we've ever found. It's eliminated majority of our oil pressure and stability issues, so this is all that we're going to run now. If you guys are interested in finding out more about this oil or want to purchase it, you can visit us at www.GHG69.com and hit contact to get in touch. Just say inquiring about oil. It is very expensive, but for us it has been 100% worth it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and check our dipstick. So we're starting to show up there on the very, very low end, so we'll keep adding more. As you can see now, we're about right where we want to be, and then there's one more important step after this. Alright, so with a stock GTR, you can just go ahead, start the car up, let all the oil circulate, check the dipstick again, add more if you need to, and then you're done. However, if you've modified it and you have an AccuSump, you need to go ahead and take that in mind. So you start the car, open the sump up, let that oil flow in the sump, shut it, and then check your oil, and then you'll have to top it up. before you start your car, you want to go ahead and remove your funnel and reinstall your filler cap. So you want to go ahead, start your car up, and you want to give it some time to go ahead and build up that oil pressure before you open up the sump. Alright, so now we're going to slowly open up the sump. Alright, so once you've filled up the accumulator sump, you want to shut the car off and let it sit for a little bit to let the actual sump fill back up with oil, and then you'll check it. Alright, so you can see there, that is after we filled up the accu sump. Alright, so what we found is with GTRs, you want to run them slightly high, so we're going to go for right about there for top off. Alright, so you can see there, that's about where we want it. Alright, so in total today we've used about 8 liters of oil. In total the car holds around 10 liters with all the modifications. Things that we did not do, we did not drain the oil cooler, so you've got all the oil in there, as well as the lines and other things to take into consideration. So we'll go ahead and remove our funnel again, put the cap on for the last time, and we'll be all done. Alright guys and gals, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys back for the next one. See ya!